Hey everybody, it's Belinda. In this video, I'm having a discussion with Angela. We're talking about employment, her best job, her worst job, and why, what she would do different. So stay tuned. Hi, Angela.
Yes. Hi, Belinda. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh, I can't see you, friend. Hi. Oh, there you. Hey.
Hey, can you see me? You can see me now?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Okay.
I can see you now.
How are you?
Girl, it's so good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Everybody,
Good.
this is IG Angela from you probably saw the video that kept playing. Angela, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and how they can get in contact with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here with you. We always have such a good time. We always talk about my very favorite subject, just employment. Yes, my name is Angela. I host IG Live with Angela daily, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd love for you to join me sometime, anytime. It's been a blast. I'm part of the Movement Makers with Evan Carmichael and Melinda and so many other amazing, amazing people. Human beings that are there, and my mission in life is to remind humans we are all human, and I do that by inviting people like Belinda and anybody really that wants to come in and share what they do, why they do it, and then just to get to know them a little bit better so we can all be just supporting each other and learning more about each other and getting to know each other in this world that we live in today. So that's pretty much it. And I'm a life coach.
And most importantly, you get a hug from Angela every day. You get a virtual hug. You give out a virtual hug every day when the show's over. So yes, you need that hug. 1 o'clock with Angela. IG Live with Angela, 1 p.m. Go get it.
Absolutely.
So
right.
Thank you for coming on today. I want to talk about with you your favorite, the best job you've ever had. What is the best job you ever had, and why was it your best job?
So my I have two jobs that I absolutely love. And so both are just, very different. I had the job that I probably learned the most in and probably grew the most in and was my job with Delta Airlines. Okay. I worked for Delta Airlines for almost 8 years in reservation sales, and it was an incredible job. I just, right out of high school, I went to an airline school for just a few months, tried college for 4 days. That was just, no. And so I joined Delta Airlines, and it was amazing. I learned a lot, and I loved it. I love meeting people.
And what was the second one? You said you had two jobs that were made. What was the second one?
Yeah, so that one I definitely learned a lot. And then so Delta, our office closed, the office that I worked in. So we were furloughed, and then we could choose to continue to work for Delta in another state. And so I chose to stay in Maryland, and I started working for Saturn, the car company. And so I loved that job. It was so much fun. I was in my 20s, mid 20s. And so it was a blast. I loved cars, but I didn't start as a salesperson. So what happened was, with Saturn, I saw their commercial, and their commercial was of a woman that was selling the cars. And I thought, oh, wow. And back in my day, like, you didn't really see that a lot of car sales ladies, right? Right. So I was like, wow, that would be great. I mean, I like people, I like cars, and to do something like that. But what I did was they had a position as a receptionist available. And so I applied for that position, thinking, okay, well, if I like the company, if I like it here, then I'll grow into that position. Right. I did do that intentionally. And I loved it. It was so much fun.
Okay. So you went from flying to driving. Right?
Flying to driving.
Flying to driving. So you like jobs that are moving.
Yes.
That are moving. So the opposite of that, what is your worst job you've ever had, and why?
Oof. Okay. So that's
easy. You don't have to name the company. You can just name the.
No, I won't. Yeah. I won't. No, so it sounds really weird, but I worked at a ham store.
Okay.
So it was a ham job. And so I know. So that was the worst job ever.
Okay.
It was horrible. On the way to that job, I would cry. While I was there, I would cry. And on my way home, I would cry and probably cry in the middle of the night, too. It was really sad. It wasn't the right job for me. And it was in the food industry and I hated it. But I needed to work.
Right.
So.
Right. So you said, I'm gonna go back to your best jobs. You said it was wonderful, but what was it? The environment? Was it your coworkers? Was it just the culture? What was it that made Saturn and Delta so great?
So there's a lot of things about both of them that I really liked. I liked the professionalism of Delta. To me, I felt, in that position, it made me feel like I was contributing to something great, because it was such a good company, great company to work for. The culture was really, really good. The environment was good. The people were really nice. That company had, a lot of people worked for that company for a really long time. So the turnover was very, very low.
Right.
So there were a lot of people that were there that were, way more senior than me. So it definitely was a family, more family oriented. And I was young. And so people sort of, took me under their wing, but I learned a lot, the diversity was amazing. I came from a very small town in Eastern Kentucky. And when I was 18 years old and then started working for Delta when I just turned 19 years old, I got my letter of employment on my birthday when I turned 19.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And so I started with them at a very young age, but I loved their mission. And we loved to fly and it shows was what it was, their little tagline, but they've always been an incredible company to work for. And they had fantastic health benefits, fantastic, I could fly for free. I was able to take my mom and my family to Hawaii. I mean, it was, for free. And
right.
it was a lot of fun. Linda, it was a lot of fun.
Okay. So now Saturn, why was that such a great job for you?
Saturn. So I think Saturn spoke to me. Like it was more, I wasn't tied down to a desk. Right. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, that was healthier for me not to be, in one place at one time. Although at Delta, they recognized that early on. So they had me do different jobs, which was a lot of fun. But I always liked cars. I always thought when I was younger that I'm not going to be a race car driver. Like that was one of the things I wanted to do.
Right.
And so I've always liked cars. And so I just thrived in that environment because of the people, and then the no haggle policy. And their core values. They always, we held those and they were always in front of us, and we would also celebrate with the customer when they would buy a car. We would actually have a party. It was so much fun. We'd have balloons and pictures. Yeah, it was crazy. But it was a lot of fun. And just meeting people and them coming in and finding something that suited them. And then they, would make their purchase. And but it was fun. I had a good time. I always think that for me, it's if I'm having fun in what I'm doing, that speaks to me a lot too.
Okay. Now in the ham company, what about that didn't you like? Is it just the work itself? Because that's totally opposite of the other two jobs you had. So what was it about that job that made it the worst for you?
So my relationship with food isn't very good. I mean, it isn't horrible because I do enjoy food and things like that. But I think because of some things that I had dealt with when I was growing up, we weren't rich. And so there were times when I would open the fridge and it was either completely full or kind of empty, And so I think I just grew up with just this love-hate relationship with food. And so food was never my thing. And not to say, that not to say that that was the cause of me not liking my ham job, but the ham store job. But I just never really liked to work with food. But I had to get a job. And so I took the job, and I had an idea that I would be in their marketing catering department. There was a small store. And so I had ideas about moving up, once I could figure out how to slice the grapes, because in that position, you had to do things that were, I'm not good at,
Right.
my strength zone is not measuring stuff, so meticulously detail oriented. Like, I get distracted very easily. And I mean, I used to wash the dishes and I would cut my fingers. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I sliced my fingers on the knives that I was washing, and trying to measure stuff and ordering. Like, it made me feel sick, because it was just not the right position for me.
Right.
And so I was miserable, just doing tasks that doesn't speak, that you just dread.
Right.
It says something. It's
Sounds
really
like nothing about that job that you like nothing, like just the whole.
The only thing that yes, there were things I liked the people that came into the store. Like, if I could just be out in the front and just hang out with the people, open the door, get to know the person, sit down with them and have the sandwich, at the same time, that would be amazing.
Right.
But that's not the job, right? That wasn't the job. The job was whatever the job was, making ham sandwiches and stuff. And I just wasn't good at it. Like, I just can't make a sandwich to save my life. So it doesn't feel good when you can't do something, when you measure yourself to what other people are, you're like, oh gosh, like, I'm just not doing a good job at this.
Right.
Yeah.
So earlier today, I've been making videos on teamwork. And so I wanted to ask you, what would make, in your opinion, a good team player? What makes a good team player in your opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. Good question. What makes a good team player? Well, I think someone that is aware that they like to be a part of a team. I think awareness is really important when you're in a position. I think that's something that I've learned through the years, is that it's really important for us to be aware of where we can thrive. And if you are going to be put in a position with a team and that's not something you want to do, if there's sort of a red flag going on inside of your heart, somebody needs to know that.
Right.
Because, it's just not going to, there won't be any value there for the team, but more importantly for you. But what makes a good team player is somebody that just is aware that they want to be there, and that they want to see the team, have successes and learn from each other, and learn as much as you can about each other, and be curious about the other team players and members. I think that makes a good team player. Listening is a good skill to have for everything, but I think listening with your team and collaborating is really good, and valuing each person for their strengths. And I think that's why it's really important now a lot more. And this, the amount of assessments that are included, that we have today, DISCs, Myers-Briggs, and StrengthsFinders, and all those different amazing assessments that are out there. I think that's really important when you're working as a team, to sort of hone in on people's strengths and weaknesses, and understand them, so that when you do collaborate and you do have a goal, that you can come together and really collaborate over how to get the job done.
Right. So I'm going to take you back again to Delta.
Okay.
Can you think of somebody that stands out to this day that was a good team player to you?
Oh,
that
wow.
you work with? What did that person do that makes it still stay in your mind? That person still stay in your mind.
There were over 200 reservation sales agents that I worked with in that office. And so then I worked at the ticket office downtown in Washington, D.C. And so there were people there. And I mean, I can't recall anybody that wasn't a team player in that organization. Wow. I'm sure maybe there was, and they came and went, but to be honest, like we were all working together, and it was, I mean, I can name some people that, you know, I mean, one manager in particular, it's funny you're asking me that. Ann Reynolds was her name. I just remembered her name the other day. Ann Reynolds. I mean, so many people. But, you know, gosh, just, and very supportive, you know, to me, like a lot of encouragement, you know, so good. Thank you so much for reminding me of this, because this really takes me back.
I'm taking you back. That kudos to you to be able to remember her name. I mean, I can't remember my first job, my manager's name. So kudos to you for
She was a manager. Yeah, she was amazing. What I loved about her was that she was a manager and she was, or supervisor. And so I was so young and I was so naive and so gullible and just so, you know, under 21 and, you know, just really just trying to figure my life out. You know, I was a fish out of a pond because you know, this was in Rockville, Maryland, which is, you know, it was a city, you know, and I grew up in the country. And so it was just, so she would say to me, I'll never forget, she'd say, and I wasn't interested in anything, but just probably myself. And, but she would say to me, have you read the paper today? You know, she would, that kind of, have you read the headlines today?
Right.
You know, things like that. And I just remember her, you know, being very, you know, thoughtful, like, you know, what else is going on besides work? You know, it was good.
That's good. That's a good boss. So what about Saturn? Can you think of somebody? Does somebody stand out? Even if you can't think of the name, was there a person that you can think of that stood out for you as a great team player?
Belinda, as far as like my coworkers, yes. I mean, there's definitely, but car sales is a little different than reservation sales.
Okay.
I will say it's a different environment. Even though Saturn was a very different kind of car company, it's still sales, right? So you do have, you know, there's a little bit more of an assertiveness that might be going on, you know. But that's what I loved about being there, is that everyone did, you know, sort of, you know, we took turns, right? So if somebody came in, okay, it's your turn. Versus, you know, some people I know in sales, you know, and other car sales, you know, and I did that too. I sold Lexus and I sold, you know, so I did that as well, which was very different because you did negotiate. And it's like the first one out in the lot is the first one to talk to the customer. It's like, can you let the customer breathe? You know? But definitely like everybody, again, you know, so supportive. But my manager at Saturn, Chuck Bob, now I will cry just thinking about him, because he actually passed away of a brain tumor in the years ago. But this man was amazing. He was a leader at their finest, like just a leader, someone you trusted, someone you could go to, approachable, was always, you know, asking you how you're doing, you know, really, really looking out for your best interest, regardless of whether or not, you know, if this position wasn't right for you, he would let you know. And I think that's where because I was the receptionist and I said to him, I'd really like to be a sales lady. I'd really like to sell cars. And he was opening a new dealership. And so I went from receptionist with him to selling cars, and he was phenomenal. And so I learned so much working under him, and just that leadership development was just amazing. And not only with me, but with all of us. Incredible human being. But that's what was missing with the hand store, right? It was, even though I needed to take that position, that job, I had to work. I needed a job, and it paid minimum wage, but I still needed the money. So I took it, regardless of even knowing. I mean, I dreaded it every day, and I knew when I took the job. But that was the difference, I think, too, right? The leadership. They knew that. I'm sure they could see, hey, she's messing up a lot.
She's not good at this part.
Yes.
That she wasn't good at that part, and not trying to find you something better to fit you.
Yeah. Not even just that, but even, you know, having a conversation with me, you know. So I got fired from that position, which I was so glad I got fired. I got fired from, oh my gosh, I was so relieved.
You was relieved. So So we're gonna switch it. Can you think of a horrible team player that you've had, the worst team player you've ever had, or boss, and what made them that?
So I will, yeah, well, so I've got a little Me Too movement to share.
Okay.
And I was thinking about this earlier, because it's real easy, and y'all all probably, that know me, know that it's real easy for me to share the positive, right? I'm very, usually I can just, but there was an experience that I had, and I'm not going to share where it was, but it was a moment where someone has exposed themselves to me. And so it was at a job. And so, I never said anything. And I wish to this day I had the courage to say something, but I didn't. And I was young and naive, and I was shocked, to be honest. And so I didn't know what to do. And I think I just sort of ignored it, like probably many, many other people that have had that experience. But it was. And so was that person a good team player in that job? Well, that was horrible. Maybe they were a good team player because they did other things that were, helpful, but at the same time, what was the motive? So that was a horrible, horrible experience that I encountered, but I never said anything to anybody. I mean, I've told friends or that sort of thing, but I never told anybody on the job.
Right.
But now, of course, years and years later, I wish I had the courage to go and say something at the time. But, it's funny because they're your friend.
Right.
So
you work with them every day.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're the opposite sex.
Right.
And in that time it was different, or was it different,
Right.
So that's the only really, I mean, there's probably other things not to like that, but that was the worst thing that I've ever experienced in a job. Irate customers and things like that. But usually they would send me out to deal with the irate customers. It's like, Angela, can you go out and help this customer? Sure.
Because you could calm down.
Because I loved them. The more angry they were, yes, I love to help them because it's, yeah.
I think, what would you tell yourself now in that situation? With all, years have passed, but what would you tell yourself now? Would you say, just go to the human resource department and tell? Would you tell yourself that now? The grown Angela now,
yes.
What would you tell yourself then? Yeah.
There's a lot of things I would say to her now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of them would be, I'll go with you.
Right.
If you want me to, let's go together.
Right.
This is important. And you'll be glad that you did this later. And he will be too.
Right.
Because you hope and you pray that there will be a change. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes.
That's right.
So that's what I would just say, hey, come here, let's go.
Let's go. That's right. Let's go together. Yes. So everybody, this is IG Angela Live, 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday. We are going to continue this conversation tomorrow and talk about other things as well. So I'm gonna let Angela again tell you how you reach her, and if you want, before she does that, a hug every day. And I think we all need a hug every day. We do. Yes. You need a hug every day. Then you sign in at 1 p.m. to Angela and get your virtual hug. So Angela, you tell them how they can reach you and what you talk about on your show.
This is so much fun. Thank you so much, Belinda. I love coming in here, and yes, just love you. And I love the topic of employment and things like that. And HR is, I've learned over the years to love HR because that scares me. Just the thought of just like sitting in front of, it's just like, yes, you can find me on IG Live with Angela, Instagram. You can text me 240-543-4075. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. And come join us tomorrow. Belinda and I are going to do this again, and we'll talk about some fun stuff tomorrow too that we can learn and grow together. And that's it. So I'm going to hug you and say goodbye. I'm going to hug my HR. Yes. Don't hug your HR person. don't hug your HR.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Coming on. I appreciate that. I'll see you tomorrow. Absolutely. So that was a video with Angela and I. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you at the next video.